They're like, why is Karp bumping his head, turning the wrong left again, telling us to launch this product? We launched the product just under 5 months ago, and now we have 150 companies using that product, 50% growth in the last month. And we're changing our go-to-market because we have no resources, away from 12-month pilots to essentially a boot camp where we all roll up our sleeves over 2 days and like, great, we'll show you it working. But both because, quite frankly, we don't have the resources, and we like to humiliate people out there saying they have products. So what better way to do it? We'll show you your enterprise working in 2 days. Talk to other people. But the central reason we have had these precursor technologies, ontology, branching, an understanding of what it would mean to interact with algorithms, whether they're normal algorithms of the kind that are used on the battlefield or large language models, was a deep understanding of NLP. How do you ask and answer questions? They're different in this context, but the core issue we had in building that product was, how do you unify data sets where part of the data has to remain unknown to either machine learning or to the end user? And those products are not isomorphic. Those questions are not exactly isomorphic to how do you interact with a large language model, which is not exact in a way where you can extract value that needs to be exact under conditions where you, for legal, moral, and ethical reasons, cannot expose, and business survival reasons, your knowledge of the world to a third party's LLM. There's jarringly similar use case, and this is why we have all these people adopting the product, because quite frankly, unless you spent 20 years looking at those, you would make certain mistakes. Like the text that at the time, because intelligence operatives have to work with things they know are true and data sets that they are hoping are true. And at the time, you really couldn't interact with the text very easily. And so dealing with something that's become very, very powerful, but that's not exact, and the kind of exact algorithmic things you would need to make operational decisions to write to your enterprise, and we're fighting very hard to get adoption on the battlefield, some of which is happening. A lot of it's sensitive, can't really go into it, but obviously we believe not quickly enough. But one of the things that you are doing, quite frankly, without realizing it, is you're putting pressure on our government to adopt AI in a way that will improve all of our lives, with guardrails in the civil context and with guardrails in the military context, simply because you're going to adopt things and you're going to run into senators and congresspeople and generals and colonels and sergeants and healthcare providers and people at the VA and be like, but why is my product better than yours? And this is probably the most, there are many reasons why I'm super happy about the work we're doing in U.S. commercial, and quite frankly, just amazing. I never thought we'd get to the point where the growth was so significant. We are just trying to scrap to figure out how we can do these things. But one of the orthogonal reasons I'm very happy about this is there's no better way to cajole an organization to work faster, in this case our clandestine and military services, than to say, okay, well, you paid $1 billion, you have a jalopy, I paid $5 million, and I'm running my whole organization. So I'm very passionate about this for lots of reasons, but that's also one reason. And I think we have some questions, and try to keep me out of purgatory. I'm already skating a fine line. Luckily, my co-founder, I didn't appreciate the value of, we have these F shares, which basically means it's harder to fire me, but then I go to these meetings and I get away with speaking a plain English because of these F shares, but I'm realizing I'm skirting on thin ice, so maybe, yeah. Well, first of all, we do attract and retain the very best people in the world. Unify under a belief, which, by the way, does exclude people. If you don't think the U.S. government should have the best software in the world, if you're uncomfortable with the fact that we supply our software to the battlefield in the U.S. and to allies, we respectfully ask you not to join Palantir. By the way, not in like you're an idiot. It's just we have this belief structure. That belief structure allows us to get people. It's like one of these things where the narrowing of the selection leads to a broader ability to deal with different kinds of difficult people. You may know from your organizations, many of the most talented people in the world have one thing in common. They're very difficult. And then I think the secret is if you are really doing something because you believe in it, you are often solving the problem that the customer, call this clandestine services in America or the DoD or somebody, it's not the problem they want to pay you to build. It's the problem you believe they need to solve. And that's a subtle difference. And the giving them a solution, which unfortunately in our culture is often a long services program, that where the person being paid absorbs no risk, which is one of the reasons why these things often don't work at a cost that's crazy. But the customer is getting what they want. What we're doing is going to a very different level of abstraction and saying, but what is the question that they are asking that's technical? What will be the question that you should be asking tomorrow, the next day, in 1,000 days? And can we build something at that level of abstraction? The negative version that we have internally is, since we know that in the beginning we were very unpopular, it's like, how good can the product has to be good enough that even though we're the least popular people in the room, they're still going to buy it. And then I'll tell you on the commercial thing, I think what is really resonating, like if you talk to people here, of course, we're a commercial company, you're a commercial company. There are always misalignments. We're much less misaligned with you than I believe any other company you'll ever interact with, because in the end, we want to deliver things that work because we know that that's how we survive. And then because we were so bereft of common sense, we have not played by there's a playbook on how you build these companies. And it's like build thin technology, hire thick sales force, hire CEO that Wall Street loves. Okay. Our product, that's not us. Right. So everybody, but that's the playbook you play. Everybody, like you go to a venture or that's the playbook. So everybody has this one playbook. We have another playbook. And our playbook, it's really hard to get to work. But when it does work, you end up with super loyal reference customers and partners. And they run around saying, yeah, okay, the first meeting may be weird, but you'll see. And then America is also shifted. Like we're not that outside the norm anymore. But I think that's how we did it. And for us, now I'm very focused on empowering the younger people at Palantir. Yeah. I like and getting them on the forefront, getting their comp structure and other things to work for them, rebuilding the company it has to be a different company in an LLM AI world. But I don't think on the international stage it's going to get better. It's going to get much worse. And then that's a separate discussion I'm spending a lot of my time meeting with people in DC and cajoling, begging, pleading. There's some 0.2% of the DoD budget, 0.2%. No, I'm not making that up. 0.2% is being spent on what they're calling AI. And then software really depends on who builds it. You need money and you need the right people and you need the right partners. And it's all three components. And of course, America, without going into details, is pretty far ahead on certain elements. But, our main adversaries are aware of this. And in my view, and again, no one has to agree with me in this room, but I think you get world peace by U.S. being clearly the strongest nation in the world, because for you could argue about our pluses and minuses and faults. I think we spent a lot of time talking about that. But I'm not aware of any other country that is benevolent with great power as the U.S. And those of you in this room and others who disagree with it, okay, so I could just narrow it. Our adversaries will be very different than we would be if they had military superiority in AI. So that's a separate issue, but I think that's how you get a more unified world. But that's not going to, it's going to be, if I had to predict, it's going to be pretty rough. Certain aspects of our product, the 5 years ahead is also a euphemism for no one really understands why this works.
Right.
And they haven't started building. Now, I would say in the AI context, the context of time has shifted. So like people are doing what you would take 10 years in like 2 years or a year. Certain products that aren't relevant for this audience, like PG, Gaia, Nexus Peering, Apollo, might be like there's just no one else is going to build them. Then you have Foundry. I don't think anyone's going to build Foundry for lots of reasons. It's expensive, hard to build. It only looks really valuable now. So like because it was valuable before, but somehow it wasn't in the zeitgeist that how valuable it could be. Foundry until AI was like, it was kind of like God bless all of you who adopted it, and I believe it is the best product on the market, but it basically was like we will make your enterprise work better, but you're not gonna have any fun. And so and now it's like, we will get your enterprise sizzling because if you have it, you can adopt AI in an ethical way and change your business. So now it's kind of, for lack of a better word, it's sexy. So there may actually be people who build components of Foundry, and I cannot believe that people are not focused on building like branching, ontology, logic. Everyone's going to need, but one of the things about being kind of, like from the outside, we're not following a playbook, so people are like, well, but where's the playbook aspect of ontology, branching? Where does that fit into my 5, 6, whatever, however they... So in each one of these cases, we're de facto very far ahead. Mm-hmm. I think the 5-year thing you have to compress that because AI, large language models, and copilots, other things will allow you to work quicker, and people see the roadmap. And quite frankly, if you're looking at PG, we have, I don't know, a large percent of the addressable market, but no one cares because the market is very small.
Right.
Whereas here, the market is infinite. It's the only market that matters. I'm still somewhat optimistic because we owe a lot to the venture community. I think the venture community is going to have a very hard time in that they want a model where all the money is in building new LLMs. And I believe all the value is in managing the LLM in a safe, effective way and writing logic to it. And that's a subtle difference. If we are right, you want to be a company that's off the ground and has something like we have, existing client base, a reputation, something like Foundry, an ability to implement ontology, understanding of tooling, even the understanding of you would need tools. It sounds very simple.
Right.
And obviously LLM needs tools, but even that is like somehow outside the financing bailiwick of most venture people. And then you have large companies. These companies are the best in the world at what they do, but with notable exceptions, in my business, the software business, there are just not that many software engineers. And then it's like, so their model is to acquire companies. Well, and there are not that many companies to acquire. So I'm pretty optimistic about this, but on the other hand, internally, we are running very quickly. We don't want to make the mistake of being ahead and then losing.